The hum of the server room, usually a comforting, almost hypnotic drone, now vibrated with a different kind of energy. A low, insistent thrumming like a trapped beast echoed in the sterile white space. For Adrian, this wasn't just a technological. It was a tremor, a physical manifestation of the unease gnawing at him. He, the architect of a digital empire, the man who had built his fortune brick by painstaking brick of code, was now staring into the abyss of suspicion. A single accusing finger, a young girl, eyes wide with a secret, pointed not to a blemish on her skin, but to a mole in the heart of his digital creation. This mole, this hidden flaw, was the key to a conspiracy that threatened not just his reputation, but the very foundation of his empire. The server logs, once a silent testament to his power, now whispered a dangerous secret. It wasn't a matter of a rogue algorithm. It was a deliberate manipulation, a calculated subversion. Adrian, accustomed to wielding power, to commanding, the digital landscape now found himself adrift in a sea of uncertainty. He'd built his world on meticulous planning, on precise execution, on the unwavering belief in his own brilliance. But now, the ground beneath his feet felt unstable, the carefully constructed towers of his success swaying precariously. The once unwavering confidence that had propelled him through countless challenges now crumbled, replaced by a chilling fear as the lines between reality and the virtual world blurred. This wasn't just a business problem, it was a personal crisis. He felt vulnerable, exposed, as if the very fabric of his being was being unraveled, thread by thread, by an unseen hand. He'd built a fortress of code, but now a single, seemingly innocuous error could bring it crashing down. The race against time began, a frantic chase through lines of code, a battle fought not with steel, but with data. The outcome hung. In the balance, the final line of code revealing the ultimate price for the pursuit of power. This wasn't a story of hackers and villains. It was a story of a man who had built his world on the foundation of trust, and now faced the shattering realization that trust, perhaps, wasn't as solid as he thought. It was a story about the vulnerability that lies beneath the gleaming exterior, of success, the hidden anxieties that lurk in the shadows of a digital empire. It was a journey into the depths of his own mind, a descent into the labyrinth of his creation, a confrontation with the darkness that lurked within the heart of his digital kingdom. This was his story, his struggle, his truth. This wasn't just a digital labyrinth. It was a reflection of Adrian's inner world. He'd meticulously built his empire, layer upon layer, but had overlooked the crucial foundation, genuine connection. His focus had been laser-sharp on the quantitative, the measurable, the code. He'd prioritized efficiency and output, often sacrificing the qualitative aspects of human interaction. This, in retrospect, now felt like a profound oversight, a critical gap in his approach. Consider the intricate architecture of a great cathedral. Each stone, each pillar contributes to the grand structure. But if the mortar, the glue that binds the stones, is weak, the entire edifice is vulnerable. Adrian's empire, similarly, was a magnificent structure, but the glue of human connection was often thin and brittle. He'd surrounded himself with brilliant minds, but the emotional bonds, the essential human element, were often neglected. Perhaps the problem wasn't just in the code, but in the human heart, a place he'd often overlooked. Now consider how this applies when you face the pressures of intense ambition and relentless deadlines. The drive to succeed, to build, to conquer can be an incredibly powerful force, but it can also lead to a detachment from the very people who are crucial to your success. Colleagues, partners, friends. We often get caught up in the numbers, the metrics, the relentless pursuit of growth, and in doing so, we risk losing sight of the people who support us, the people who make the journey worth it. Adrian had forgotten this. Furthermore, the relentless pursuit of power, the ever-present desire to dominate, can create a warped perception of reality. This distortion can lead to a dangerous disconnection from the ethical implications of one's actions. Adrian's preoccupation with his digital creation had blinded him to the potential harm it could inflict. He'd become so focused on the grandeur of his achievement that he'd overlooked the subtle but crucial elements of ethical considerations. Contrast this with a different approach, one that prioritizes empathy and understanding. This alternative model emphasizes building genuine relationships with the people around you. It involves recognizing the human element in all interactions, valuing the importance of constructive dialogue, and fostering a culture of trust and respect. These weren't abstract concepts. They were the building blocks of a sustainable, ethical future, an important yet often overlooked aspect of success. Consequently, cultivating a culture of genuine connection, of shared vision, and of ethical conduct becomes paramount. This, in turn, fosters a resilient foundation for any endeavor, whether it's a company, a relationship, or a personal journey. The strength of an organization, and indeed any pursuit, isn't solely determined by its output, but also by the quality of the relationships it cultivates. Now consider how this applies when you face the relentless pressure of a complex, demanding project. Often we become so entrenched in the details, the minutiae of the task, that we lose sight of the larger picture. This tunnel vision, while seemingly efficient in the short term, can ultimately hinder progress. Think of a sculptor meticulously chiseling away at a block of marble, only to discover upon completion that the piece is not what they envisioned. They were so focused on the form, on the technical aspects, that they failed to consider the essence, the underlying concept. This, in essence, is a common pitfall, a tendency to become overly absorbed in the procedural aspects, losing sight of the overarching goal. This often manifests in an inability to adapt, to pivot in the face of unexpected challenges. An inflexible approach can lead to missed opportunities, to stalled progress, or even to outright failure. Consider the classic tale of the innovator who clung stubbornly to an outdated technology, while a competitor emerged with a groundbreaking new approach. The innovator, shackled by their own dogma, ultimately lost out on a market revolution. Building upon this, however, consider the power of perspective. Stepping back, gaining a broader understanding of the context, is often the key to unlocking new possibilities. This is akin to looking at a painting from a distance. The details, the brushstrokes become clearer, and the overall composition reveals itself. The ability to see the bigger picture is often the difference between a successful outcome and a frustrating dead end. Furthermore, cultivating a growth mindset is essential. This involves embracing challenges, viewing setbacks as opportunities for learning, and continuously striving for improvement. A rigid, fixed mindset, on the other hand, can lead to stagnation and a fear of change. An example might be a company that refuses to adapt to evolving customer needs, ultimately falling behind the competition. Conversely, embracing a flexible approach coupled with a willingness to learn opens a world of possibilities. This adaptability, this willingness to explore new paths, is often the key to breakthrough innovation. Think of the countless scientific advancements that arose from researchers' willingness to question existing paradigms and explore alternative hypotheses. Another crucial layer is the recognition of the limitations of one's own perspective. We are all susceptible to biases, whether conscious or subconscious. These biases can cloud our judgment, leading us to make decisions that aren't in our best interest or those of the people we work with. Recognizing these limitations and actively seeking diverse perspectives is essential for achieving balanced and effective outcomes. Now consider how this applies when navigating complex interpersonal dynamics. Often, we become so focused on our own perspective that we fail to perceive the nuances of others' emotions and motivations. This can lead to misinterpretations and strained relationships. Imagine trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with only one piece of the image visible. You might struggle to make sense of the other pieces, and your final product will likely be incomplete and inaccurate. Similarly, in relationships, if we only see our own needs and desires, we miss the opportunity to truly understand and appreciate the other person's world. Instead of engaging in active listening, we often interpret others' actions through the lens of our own experiences, creating a distorted reality. This can lead to conflict and detachment. Consider the example of a couple where one partner feels unheard and misunderstood. Their frustration stems not from the other's intentions, but from a lack of empathy, a failure to see the world from the other's perspective. Moreover, this often manifests as a tendency to seek external validation. We may constantly crave approval and affirmation from others to bolster our self-esteem. This can lead to a dependence on external sources, ultimately hindering our capacity for self-reliance, a person always seeking validation from friends, colleagues, or even social media comments may find their self-worth contingent on external feedback. This reliance can make them susceptible to criticism and to fluctuating feelings of inadequacy. Conversely, individuals who possess a strong sense of self-worth are less likely to seek validation from external sources. They understand their intrinsic value, regardless of external opinions. This inner strength enables them to navigate challenges and relationships with greater resilience. Consider the artist who creates a masterpiece, not for the accolades, but for the joy of the process itself. Their motivation comes from an inherent sense of self-worth, rather than the desire for external praise. Another crucial layer is recognizing the role of implicit biases. These ingrained assumptions and prejudices, often unconscious, can significantly impact our interactions with others. They can lead to unfair judgments, stereotypes, and ultimately damaged relationships. Imagine a manager who, unconsciously biased against a particular gender, inadvertently overlooks the contributions of a talented employee. This implicit bias, while unintentional, can have a devastating impact on both the individual and the organization. Acknowledging and addressing implicit biases is paramount for building respectful and equitable relationships. Now consider how this applies when you face the constant barrage of information in today's digital age. We are bombarded with data, opinions, and perspectives, often leaving us feeling overwhelmed and adrift. This deluge can lead to a sense of paralysis, an inability to discern truth from falsehood. Think of a river overflowing its banks. The current carries everything along, valuable insights mixed with misinformation, leaving us struggling to find our footing. In contrast, cultivating critical thinking skills is akin to developing a discerning eye. It's about questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, and forming reasoned conclusions. This isn't about cynicism, it's about a thoughtful, measured approach to information. A discerning eye allows us to filter the noise and focus on the essential elements. Consider a detective sifting through mountains of evidence. Only by critically analyzing each clue can they uncover the truth. Furthermore, developing this skill requires a willingness to confront our own biases. We all harbor preconceived notions, beliefs shaped by past experiences and cultural influences. These biases, while often subconscious, can significantly impact our judgment. Imagine a judge who subconsciously favors individuals from a specific socioeconomic background. Their bias, while unintentional, can lead to unfair or unjust outcomes. Building on this, however, consider the power of diverse perspectives. Surrounding ourselves with individuals who hold differing viewpoints, who challenge our assumptions, can help us identify and mitigate our biases. This is akin to a group of scientists collaborating on a research project. By sharing different perspectives, they can gain a more comprehensive understanding of the subject. Consequently, engaging in respectful dialogue with those who hold opposing views, even if we don't agree, is crucial. This isn't about seeking agreement. It's about understanding the other person's perspective and exploring the underlying reasons for their beliefs. Consider a political debate. By listening empathetically to the opposing side, we can gain insight into their concerns and potentially find common ground. Conversely, an unwillingness to engage with differing viewpoints can lead to an echo chamber effect, where we only encounter perspectives that reinforce our existing beliefs. This can result in a dangerous detachment from reality. Think of a community isolated by their own dogma. They fail to see alternative viewpoints, becoming increasingly entrenched in their own beliefs. Another crucial layer is recognizing the importance of nuance. The world rarely presents itself in simple black and white terms. Many issues are complex, multifaceted, and require a nuanced understanding. Consider a medical diagnosis. A doctor needs to consider all the symptoms, tests, and patient history to arrive at an accurate conclusion. Ignoring nuance often leads to misinterpretations and flawed conclusions. Now consider how this applies when you face the constant pressure of competing priorities. We often juggle multiple responsibilities, tasks, and commitments, leading to a feeling of being overwhelmed and scattered. Imagine trying to hold a handful of water balloons. Each one represents a different obligation. The more you try to hold, the more likely they are to burst, spilling their contents, your energy, focus, and ultimately your effectiveness. Instead of struggling to hold on to everything, consider the wisdom of prioritization. This isn't about neglecting some tasks, it's about strategically allocating your resources, focusing on the most impactful actions first. This is akin to a conductor carefully directing an orchestra. Each instrument plays a crucial part, but the conductor ensures the proper timing and harmony. Furthermore, recognize the inherent limitations of your time and energy. You can't pour from an empty cup. Understanding your capacity is the first step toward effective management. A diligent student, for instance, doesn't try to cram all their coursework into one night. Instead, they break down the material, allocating specific time slots for different subjects, recognizing their own limits. Building on this, however, is the importance of delegation. Don't be afraid to ask for help or to distribute tasks when possible. This isn't about shirking responsibility, it's about optimizing efficiency. A project manager, for example, doesn't try to handle every aspect of a complex project alone. They leverage the strengths of their team, assigning roles based on individual capabilities. Consequently, learning to say no is a powerful tool. It's not about being dismissive, it's about protecting your time and energy for the most critical tasks. A successful entrepreneur, for instance, doesn't accept every opportunity that comes their way. They carefully evaluate each venture, selecting only those that align with their strategic goals. Conversely, a relentless pursuit of multitasking, often touted as a sign of efficiency, can actually lead to diminished productivity. Trying to juggle too many balls simultaneously often results in dropping some, or even losing sight of the goal altogether. This can be seen in the example of an employee attempting to handle multiple urgent requests at once, leading to errors and missed deadlines. Another crucial layer is the concept of downtime. Regular breaks and periods of rest are not signs of weakness. They are essential for maintaining focus and productivity. A seasoned athlete, for instance, recognizes the importance of rest and recovery for peak performance. Similarly, incorporating planned downtime into your schedule can drastically improve your overall effectiveness. Now consider how this applies when you face the constant pressure of conflicting demands. We often find ourselves caught in the cross-currents of competing desires, responsibilities, and expectations. Imagine a sailboat caught in a tempestuous sea. The wind pushes it in one direction, the current in another, and the waves threaten to capsize it. This illustrates the precarious balance we often navigate. Instead of battling these conflicting forces, consider the art of harmonization. Just as a skilled sailor adjusts sails and course to weather the storm, we can learn to reconcile opposing demands. This requires a keen awareness of our priorities, a deep understanding of our values, and a deliberate strategy for navigating the complexities. For example, a parent juggling work commitments with the needs of a family faces a constant tension. Their personal well-being often suffers when they try to do everything perfectly. Instead of succumbing to the pressure, they can prioritize, delegate, and create a system that accommodates both responsibilities. A structured approach in this case allows for a more harmonious balance. Furthermore, consider the concept of flexibility. Rigid adherence to a predetermined plan, especially in the face of shifting circumstances, can be detrimental. Imagine trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. The effort is futile, and the result is often frustration. Adaptability, on the other hand, provides a more fluid response. A flexible approach allows us to adjust, to pivot, and to embrace unforeseen opportunities. Building on this, consider the power of compartmentalization. Effectively managing various demands often requires separating responsibilities into distinct categories. This is like sorting different types of mail, bills, letters, and packages into separate containers. This organization prevents overwhelm and allows focused attention on each category. Consequently, understanding your own energy cycles is vital. Everyone has periods of high and low energy. Recognizing these patterns allows for strategic task allocation. A student, for instance, might complete their most challenging tasks during peak focus hours, reserving less demanding tasks for times when energy levels are lower. Conversely, neglecting the importance of rest and recovery can have a detrimental effect on overall well-being. Just as a car requires regular maintenance, our minds and bodies need time to recharge. Prolonged periods of stress without respite can lead to burnout, impacting both our physical and mental health. Regular breaks and periods of downtime are not a luxury, but an essential component of effective management. Another crucial layer is the recognition of the importance of boundaries. Learning to establish clear limits is essential for maintaining equilibrium. This is like setting clear lines. In a garden, it helps to define the space for each plant to thrive without encroaching on another. These boundaries not only protect our time and energy, but also foster a sense of control and clarity. Now, consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating conflicting expectations. We all encounter situations where different people groups or even societal norms demand varying things from us. This can create a tug-of-war within, pulling us in multiple directions. Imagine a dancer balancing multiple intricate steps simultaneously, each a representation of a different expectation. Maintaining equilibrium requires a deft touch, a keen awareness of each element, and a profound understanding of one's own capabilities. Indeed, recognizing the validity of various perspectives, though challenging, is fundamental to navigating these conflicts. It's not about compromising your core values. Rather, it's about understanding the underlying motivations and reasoning behind differing expectations. Consider a parent whose child desires to pursue a creative career, while societal pressures might encourage a more traditional path. Acknowledging both viewpoints while maintaining a resolute focus on the child's aspirations is key. This nuanced approach leads to a more harmonious resolution. Furthermore, establishing clear boundaries, while sometimes perceived as a form of resistance, is often a critical step in managing these competing demands. Like a gardener meticulously tending a rosebush, you must protect the plant from encroaching weeds. These boundaries safeguard your time, energy, and emotional well-being. A clear delineation between commitments fosters greater clarity and focus. Consider a professional who defines specific working hours, creating a designated space for personal time and energy restoration. Consequently, a crucial component of navigating these conflicts is actively listening to and understanding the underlying concerns of those who impose expectations. This approach is akin to a detective piecing together a puzzle. Each piece, though seemingly disparate, contributes to the whole picture. By understanding the motivations behind the expectations, we can often find common ground and forge more effective solutions. This empathetic approach allows for a more collaborative and less adversarial outcome. Conversely, a tendency to simply dismiss conflicting expectations can lead to feelings of isolation and frustration. It's akin to a ship sailing blindly into a storm without adjusting its course. Ignoring the currents and winds leads to a potentially perilous journey. Instead, a proactive engagement with diverse perspectives often leads to a more satisfactory and fulfilling resolution. Another essential layer is recognizing the inherent value in your own judgment. Ultimately, you are the architect of your own life. Your decisions based on your values and aspirations should hold precedence, especially when expectations from others clash. Just as a sculptor meticulously shapes a piece of clay, you must carefully craft your path, incorporating external influences while remaining true to your core. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of internal conflicts. Often, our inner worlds are fraught with competing desires, conflicting values, and unresolved tensions. These internal battles can be just as tumultuous as external conflicts, silently undermining our well-being and hindering our progress. Imagine a ship caught in a cross-current, the winds pushing it in one direction, the tides pulling it another, creating a constant internal struggle for balance. Indeed, these internal struggles can manifest in many ways. Perhaps it's the nagging voice of self-doubt, questioning your abilities and undermining your confidence. Or maybe it's a conflict between your ambition and your desire for a fulfilling personal life. Consider the artist wrestling with a new creative direction, a desire to innovate versus a fear of failure. Furthermore, these internal conflicts frequently emerge from our deeply held beliefs and ingrained patterns. These patterns, often subconscious, can act as invisible anchors, dragging us in directions we may not even consciously choose. For instance, an individual might continually sabotage their success due to an ingrained fear of success, perhaps stemming from past experiences of inadequacy. Building on this, however, consider the role of self-compassion. When faced with these internal conflicts, offering yourself the same understanding and kindness you would offer a friend in a similar predicament can be transformative. Treating yourself with empathy, acknowledging your struggles, and recognizing the complexity of your own human experience can foster inner peace and resilience. Consider a student struggling with a difficult subject. Instead of berating themselves for perceived shortcomings, they can approach the situation with understanding, recognizing the inherent challenges and their own learning curve. This act of self-compassion can be the catalyst for overcoming obstacles and fostering a more positive outlook. Consequently, acknowledging and accepting these internal conflicts as a natural part of the human experience is a critical first step. This acceptance allows us to approach these challenges with a greater sense of objectivity and a more measured response. It's like weathering a storm. Understanding its inevitability allows us to adapt and navigate its forces more effectively. Conversely, A tendency to suppress or ignore internal conflicts often leads to a buildup of tension and stress. This can manifest in various ways, from physical ailments to emotional outbursts. This is akin to a pressure cooker. The longer the pressure builds, the more likely it is to explode. This avoidance often exacerbates the problem, hindering growth and hindering progress. Addressing these internal conflicts directly, with self-compassion and understanding, is crucial for maintaining overall well-being. Now, consider how this applies when you face the challenge of internal conflicts, stemming from conflicting desires. Sometimes these desires aren't easily reconciled, existing as distinct, often opposing forces within us. Imagine a tug-of-war, not with external adversaries, but with different aspects of your own personality or aspirations. One side represents the need for security, the other, the pull toward radical change. Finding equilibrium in this internal struggle requires careful consideration and a well-defined strategy. Instead of viewing these conflicts as insurmountable obstacles, reframe them as opportunities for self-discovery. Each competing desire, each opposing force, offers a unique perspective. A desire for stability might highlight a deep-seated need for safety, while a yearning for adventure might point to an unfulfilled need for exploration. Recognizing these underlying needs, rather than simply suppressing them, allows for a more holistic understanding of ourselves. For example, a seemingly contradictory desire for both career advancement and a fulfilling personal life can be reconciled by strategically prioritizing tasks and creating clear boundaries. Furthermore, these internal conflicts can often be linked to unresolved past experiences. These experiences, like old wounds, can fester, leading to recurring patterns of behavior and thought. For instance, a fear of failure, rooted in a critical childhood experience, might manifest as procrastination or self-sabotaging behaviors in adulthood. Addressing these underlying causes, rather than simply masking the symptoms, is critical for lasting change. This often involves introspection, journaling, or seeking professional guidance to understand and heal these past wounds. Consequently, embracing a flexible approach to these internal conflicts is key. Rather than rigidly adhering to a single, predetermined path, be open to exploring alternative possibilities. A rigid stance, fueled by fear of change or uncertainty, can prevent you from discovering new and potentially more fulfilling avenues. For instance, a musician feeling confined by their established style might find inspiration and new avenues of expression by exploring different genres or instruments. Conversely, impulsively yielding to every fleeting desire can lead to a sense of aimlessness and a lack of direction. A thoughtful examination of these desires, an understanding of their roots, and a deliberate strategy for reconciliation are crucial. An athlete, for instance, might feel drawn to multiple sports, but a structured approach to training and self-assessment can lead to a more focused and fulfilling journey. Another crucial layer is the recognition of the importance of self-reflection. Understanding the source of these conflicts, the motivations behind our desires, and the patterns in our actions. These insights provide the foundation for effective change. This self-examination, like a meticulous map, guides you through the complexities of your internal landscape, allowing you to chart a course towards a more harmonious and fulfilling existence. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of reconciling seemingly disparate desires, those that might seem diametrically opposed. Often, we perceive these opposing forces as mutually exclusive, as if we must choose one at the expense of the other. However, a more nuanced perspective reveals the potential for harmony and integration. Imagine a painter struggling between the desire for realistic representation and the urge to create abstract expression. At first glance, these aspirations seem irreconcilable, But a deeper understanding reveals that both approaches can inform and enhance each other. The realistic depiction can provide a solid foundation for the abstract expression, while the abstract exploration can add depth and nuance to the realistic portrayal. Similarly, the desire for stability and the need for growth, often seen as conflicting forces, can be integrated. Stability provides a secure foundation for venturing into new territory. Growth, in turn, broadens the horizons of stability. This integration, this synthesis, is a hallmark of adaptability and resilience. A successful entrepreneur, for example, might balance the need for financial security with the desire for innovation and expansion. They understand that these seemingly opposing forces can be complementary, enabling a more dynamic and sustainable trajectory. Furthermore, consider the tension between the desire for independence and the need for connection. These two fundamental human needs, while sometimes perceived as mutually exclusive, are often deeply intertwined. Independence, in this sense, doesn't negate the importance of connection. Rather, it provides a platform for richer, more authentic relationships. A person who cultivates a strong sense of self is better equipped to form meaningful connections, free from the need for validation or dependence. Consider the example of a young artist determined to develop their unique style. This drive for independence doesn't mean they isolate themselves. Instead, it enables them to engage with others on a deeper level, sharing their creative journey while maintaining their artistic integrity. This, in essence, represents a creative synthesis, where independence and connection coexist in harmony. Conversely, an absolute adherence to one extreme often results in a distorted or incomplete picture. A relentless pursuit of independence, devoid of connection, can lead to isolation and a sense of emptiness. Likewise, an uncritical dependence on others can stifle personal growth and limit the capacity for independent thought and action. Another crucial layer is the recognition of the dynamic nature of these desires. They're not static. They evolve and change over time. What seems like a conflict today might become a harmonious blend tomorrow. This understanding allows us to approach these internal tensions with flexibility and resilience, recognizing that a more integrated and nuanced approach is often the key to a more fulfilling and balanced existence. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating conflicting desires, those that, while not diametrically opposed, still present a complex interplay. Imagine a sculptor meticulously chiseling away at a block of marble. One facet reveals a serene figure, while another hints at a powerful beast. Both are within the same stone. The challenge lies in recognizing and extracting both. This often manifests as a tug-of-war within ourselves, a desire for both order and chaos, for both routine and spontaneity. This internal dance can appear as a constant oscillation between calculated planning and spontaneous innovation, between the comfort of familiarity and the thrill of the unknown. Perhaps you crave a structured schedule, yet also yearn for the freedom of impromptu adventures. These seemingly contradictory desires are not mutually exclusive. Consider the example of a renowned chef. They adhere to precise recipes, meticulously measuring ingredients and following time-tested techniques. Yet, they also experiment with new combinations, pushing boundaries and creating unexpected culinary masterpieces. This duality allows them to deliver both a comforting familiarity and a surprising innovation. This harmonious blending enables a creative and satisfying experience for both the chef and their patrons. Furthermore, these seemingly contradictory desires can often reflect underlying needs. The yearning for routine might stem from a deep-seated need for security and predictability, while the inclination towards spontaneity might reveal a desire for growth and novelty. Recognizing these underlying needs offers a crucial insight into the nature of these internal conflicts. This understanding allows for a more nuanced and ultimately more satisfying approach to navigating these internal tensions. Building on this, consider the role of compromise. This isn't about abandoning one desire altogether, but rather about finding a way to accommodate both. A student might balance the need for a structured study schedule with the desire to pursue extracurricular activities. By strategically allocating time and resources, they can create a schedule that accommodates both. This compromise, this integration, fosters a sense of balance and fulfillment. Conversely, an inflexible approach, clinging stubbornly to one extreme, often leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. A rigid adherence to routine, for instance, can stifle creativity and prevent personal growth, while a total abandonment of structure can lead to disorganization and missed opportunities. A balanced approach, incorporating elements of both, fosters a more holistic and fulfilling existence. Another crucial layer is the concept of integration. Rather than forcing these desires into a rigid dichotomy, consider the possibility of integration. How can these apparently disparate desires complement each other, enriching rather than hindering your overall experience? This is akin to combining different musical instruments to create a symphony. Each instrument plays a unique part, yet together they create a harmonious whole. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating competing priorities, those that, while not necessarily contradictory, still demand careful allocation of resources. Imagine a gardener tending a sprawling rose garden. Each rosebush requires specific sunlight, water, and nutrients to thrive, but the gardener has only so much time and energy. How do they ensure each rose receives the necessary attention without neglecting others? This, in essence, is the art of prioritization. It's not about choosing one rose over another, but about recognizing the unique needs of each and allocating resources accordingly. This requires a deep understanding of the individual elements, a keen eye for detail, and a flexible approach. A rigid schedule, devoid of adaptability, can quickly lead to neglect and stunted growth. Furthermore, this intricate dance of priorities often extends beyond the tangible. Consider a parent juggling work demands with the needs of a family. They might feel pulled in multiple directions, torn between the demands of a career and the responsibilities of their family. Yet, through careful planning and thoughtful allocation of time and energy, they can create a harmonious equilibrium. Building on this, however, consider the importance of recognizing the ebb and flow of energy. Some tasks require intense focus, while others can be tackled with a lighter touch. Understanding these nuances allows for strategic task allocation, maximizing productivity and minimizing fatigue. A student, for instance, might dedicate their peak hours to complex math problems, reserving simpler tasks for when energy levels are lower. Consequently, a well-structured approach to managing competing priorities is not about rigid schedules, but rather about adaptable strategies. It's about recognizing the dynamic nature of tasks and responsibilities, adjusting approaches as needed. This necessitates a keen awareness of your own energy levels, your individual strengths, and the specific demands of each task. Conversely, a careless approach, characterized by a lack of planning and prioritization, often leads to missed deadlines, diminished productivity, and feelings of overwhelm. Imagine a project manager trying to handle every aspect of a large undertaking without a clear division of labor. The result is often chaos, missed milestones, and a sense of being overwhelmed. Another crucial layer is the recognition that prioritization is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, requiring continuous evaluation and adjustment as circumstances evolve. A business, for example, might prioritize product development in one quarter, then shift focus to marketing in the next. This adaptability allows for growth and resilience in the face of change. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating competing demands, not just in terms of time, but in terms of differing perspectives and priorities. Often, we find ourselves caught in a crossfire of opinions, each with its own compelling logic, yet seemingly incompatible with one another. This can create a sense of being pulled in multiple directions, making it difficult to discern a clear path forward. Imagine a sculptor working on a complex statue. Initial sketches might suggest a warrior, powerful and resolute. As the sculptor progresses, a different perspective emerges, a contemplative figure burdened by wisdom. Both visions are valid. The key is to recognize that they are not mutually exclusive, but can coexisting within a single masterpiece. Furthermore, this often involves the delicate balance between adherence to principles and the willingness to adapt. One might hold firm to core values, yet remain open to adjusting tactics or strategies as circumstances evolve. This adaptability is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to resilience and resourcefulness. A seasoned negotiator, for instance, might maintain their ethical stance while strategically adjusting their approach based on the other party's responses. Building on this, consider the importance of recognizing that diverse opinions are not necessarily in conflict. Different perspectives can enrich our understanding, broaden our horizons, and lead to innovative solutions. A diverse team comprised of individuals with varied backgrounds and viewpoints can often generate more creative and effective outcomes than a homogeneous group. Consequently, fostering an environment where diverse perspectives are not only tolerated but actively sought can lead to groundbreaking discoveries and innovative approaches. Consider a research team where scientists from different disciplines collaborate. Their combined knowledge base often leads to solutions far beyond what any individual could achieve alone. Conversely, a resistance to differing viewpoints can lead to stagnation and missed opportunities. A closed-minded approach, clinging rigidly to a single perspective, can prevent valuable insights from emerging. This can be seen in a company that refuses to consider feedback from customers, ultimately failing to adapt to changing market demands. Another crucial layer in navigating these competing priorities is the development of effective communication strategies. Open and honest dialogue, where differing viewpoints are expressed respectfully and constructively, can often lead to a synthesis of ideas. This is akin to a collaborative effort where everyone feels heard and understood, resulting in a harmonious blend of perspectives. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating competing priorities, not just in terms of time or perspectives, but in terms of differing values and beliefs. These often clash, creating internal friction, much like tectonic plates grinding against each other, generating subtle tremors of discomfort. We encounter situations where different moral compasses point in opposing directions, demanding choices that feel inherently difficult. For example, a dedicated environmentalist might face a career opportunity that, while lucrative, compromises their commitment to sustainable practices. This internal conflict isn't about choosing one or the other, but about finding a path that respects both values. Perhaps a compromise exists, a way to pursue the career while mitigating its environmental impact. Furthermore, such conflicts can arise when personal values clash with societal expectations. A young artist, perhaps, desires to pursue a unique, unconventional style, but societal pressures might encourage conformity. This internal tension is a powerful catalyst for growth, prompting introspection and a deeper understanding of one's own moral compass. Building on this, consider the importance of self-awareness. Understanding your personal values, your ethical framework, is the first step in navigating these complex situations. This self-reflection allows for a more nuanced understanding of the different priorities and a strategy for resolving the potential conflicts. This process is akin to a cartographer meticulously mapping a landscape, identifying the various contours and landmarks before charting a course. Consequently, a proactive approach, addressing these conflicts directly, often yields more satisfying results than passive avoidance. Instead of ignoring the friction, consider engaging in a dialogue with yourself, exploring the underlying reasons for the competing priorities. This inward journey can reveal underlying needs, desires, and fears. Conversely, a tendency to suppress or ignore these conflicts can lead to a buildup of internal pressure, potentially manifesting as stress, anxiety, or even physical ailments. Just as a dam holds back a powerful river, ignoring these internal tensions can lead to a catastrophic release. A more proactive approach, addressing these conflicts with self-awareness and intention, often yields a more harmonious resolution. Another crucial layer in navigating these competing demands is understanding the context. The implications of differing values or priorities can vary considerably depending on the specific situation. A seemingly minor conflict in a personal relationship might escalate significantly when embedded within a broader professional or social context. This contextual awareness is vital for effective decision-making. Now consider how this applies when you face the intricate dance of competing priorities, not just in terms of values, but in terms of differing methodologies and approaches. Frequently, we find ourselves wrestling with approaches that, while seemingly valid, lead to divergent paths. Imagine a navigator charting a course across a vast ocean. One route is marked by the shimmering promise of a shortcut, another by the tried and true, yet potentially longer path. Both seem viable, yet one might ultimately lead to a more substantial, sustainable outcome. This often manifests as a dilemma between innovation and tradition, between calculated risk and cautious preservation. A seasoned architect, for example, might be drawn to embrace cutting-edge designs, yet the project's structural integrity demands adherence to established building codes. This tension requires a thoughtful evaluation, a careful weighing of factors, and a willingness to adapt. Furthermore, this internal conflict can extend to different working styles. Someone might thrive in a highly structured environment, while another flourishes in an atmosphere of dynamic improvisation. A team leader, recognizing these nuances, must cultivate an environment that fosters both structure and flexibility, allowing diverse working styles to converge into a unified, effective whole. This is akin to a conductor leading an orchestra. The conductor, through clear communication and well-defined roles, ensures that individual instruments, with their unique capabilities, harmonize into a beautiful symphony. Building on this, consider the role of feedback in resolving these methodological conflicts. Constructive criticism, when delivered thoughtfully and with empathy, can be a powerful tool for refinement. A colleague offering feedback on a presentation, for instance, might point out areas where the presentation could be improved, not to disparage the presenter, but to enhance the overall outcome. This exchange of perspectives, when managed effectively, can lead to a more robust and effective approach. Conversely, criticism delivered without tact or consideration can demotivate and discourage, hindering progress. It's like a harsh wind tearing at a delicate sail, preventing forward momentum. A supportive environment, characterized by mutual respect and a shared commitment to growth, is essential for productive collaboration. Another crucial layer is the recognition that methodologies are not static. What works well in one context might be entirely inappropriate in another. A sales strategy that works wonders in a rural community might be ineffective in a densely populated urban area. Adaptability and a willingness to modify approach based on context are critical for success. This is like a craftsman adapting their tools to the specific material at hand. This continuous evolution of approach is a hallmark of adaptive leadership and innovative thinking. It's about recognizing the dynamic nature of work and life, adapting approaches and strategies as needed. Ultimately, the ability to integrate diverse perspectives and methodologies is a hallmark of a truly effective and resilient individual or group. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of navigating competing methodologies, not just in terms of their inherent differences, but in terms of their individual strengths and weaknesses in specific contexts. A hammer is a powerful tool for driving nails, but it's utterly useless for sculpting clay. Similarly, a particular approach, while effective in one situation, might be entirely inappropriate in another. Recognizing these contextual variations is paramount. Moreover, the effectiveness of a given methodology hinges on the nuanced understanding of its limitations. No tool, no strategy is universally applicable. A meticulously crafted plan, while excellent for predictable circumstances, might crumble under the weight of unforeseen obstacles. A highly adaptable approach, on the other hand, might lack the precision required for intricate tasks. Just as a skilled chef must adapt techniques to varying ingredients, we must adapt our methodologies to the specific context. Consider, for example, a software engineer tasked with developing a new mobile application. An agile approach, emphasizing iterative development and continuous feedback, might be ideal for a project with evolving user needs. However, a more structured waterfall approach might be necessary for a project with rigid specifications and strict deadlines. The optimal methodology isn't inherent in the task itself, but in its specific circumstances. Furthermore, understanding the underlying principles of each methodology can illuminate its strengths and weaknesses. A rigid adherence to a specific approach without acknowledging its underlying principles can lead to misapplication and unintended consequences. Understanding the rationale behind a methodology empowers a more informed and adaptable application. This is akin to a musician understanding the musical theory behind a piece, enabling them to perform it with greater nuance and sensitivity. Consequently, a robust approach involves a conscious evaluation of the task at hand, considering the specific context and selecting the methodology that best aligns with those factors. This requires a discerning eye, a willingness to learn and adapt, and a deep understanding of the strengths and limitations of different approaches. This is not about rejecting one approach in favor of another, but about selecting the most suitable tool for the job. Conversely, blindly adhering to a single methodology, regardless of the context, can lead to missed opportunities and suboptimal outcomes. A rigid adherence to a particular approach can prevent innovation and stifle creative problem-solving. The rigidity of a ship's hull is essential for stability, but can hinder its maneuverability. A flexible approach, recognizing the nuances of different situations, fosters adaptability and innovation. Now consider how this applies when you face the challenge of selecting the most effective strategy for a particular task. Often we find ourselves drawn to approaches that resonate with our personal preferences or past successes, rather than objectively evaluating the most suitable method. This can lead to suboptimal outcomes. Imagine a carpenter trying to build a house using only a screwdriver, a perfectly valid tool for some tasks, but utterly inadequate for constructing walls or framing a roof. Instead of relying solely on ingrained habits, consider the crucial role of meticulous analysis. A thorough examination of the task, its specific requirements, and the inherent limitations of various approaches is paramount. A seasoned chef, for example, doesn't simply rely on instinct. They meticulously consider the properties of each ingredient, the nuances of different cooking methods, and the desired outcome This careful consideration ensures a more refined and satisfying result. Furthermore, this analytical process extends beyond the practical. It encompasses a keen understanding of the context, the environment, and the people involved. A project manager, in coordinating a team's efforts, must consider each team member's unique strengths and weaknesses, the project timeline, and the potential external factors that could influence the outcome. This comprehensive evaluation allows for a more targeted and effective strategy. Building on this, however, consider the importance of flexibility. A rigid adherence to a single strategy, regardless of the context, can lead to stagnation and missed opportunities. A marketing campaign, for example, that proved successful in a previous quarter might require significant adaptation in the following quarter due to shifts in market trends or customer preferences. A rigid approach would lead to diminishing returns, while a flexible one allows for measured adjustments. Consequently, the most effective approach often involves a combination of elements, a synthesis of different strategies, each tailored to the unique demands of the specific context. A skilled strategist in devising a military campaign wouldn't rely on a single tactic. They'd carefully integrate diverse strategies, balancing offensive maneuvers with defensive measures and recognizing the unpredictable nature of the battlefield. Conversely, a strategy that appears to be universally applicable often proves ineffective in practice. A one-size-fits-all approach, devoid of context-specific adjustments, can lead to a lack of precision and a failure to achieve desired outcomes. A tailor wouldn't use the same pattern for every customer. They'd meticulously measure and adapt to the unique dimensions of each individual. This personalized approach guarantees a more fitting and comfortable garment. Drawing these threads together, we see a tapestry woven from the intricate patterns of human experience. The threads, though seemingly disparate, converge in a profound and elegant design, revealing a common thread of resilience and adaptability. Each explored concept, from the subtleties of internal conflict to the complexities of competing priorities, ultimately points toward a single unifying truth: the importance of self-awareness and mindful action. Consider the interconnectedness of these elements, the struggles within, the external pressures, the conflicting desires, and the myriad methodologies. They are not isolated incidents, but rather facets of a single, multifaceted reality. They are the raw materials from which we craft our lives, the very building blocks of our individual journeys. Just as a sculptor must understand the inherent properties of marble to create a masterpiece, so too must we understand the intricacies of our own being to navigate the complexities of our lives. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes less a destination and more a continuous, evolving process. It is a journey of self-discovery, a constant refinement of understanding, a meticulous mapping of the landscape of our own internal world. The journey is not without its challenges, its moments of uncertainty, or its inevitable setbacks. But by acknowledging these challenges, by embracing the inherent complexities, we equip ourselves with the tools to navigate them with greater resilience and grace. Reflecting on this journey so far, we have traversed the labyrinthine corridors of our own minds, confronting the internal conflicts and external pressures that shape our experiences. We have explored the subtle interplay of competing priorities, the dance between structure and spontaneity, and the nuanced interplay of differing values and methodologies. Through these explorations, we have gained a deeper appreciation for the multifaceted nature of our human experience. The culmination of these reflections isn't a definitive answer, but rather a profound understanding of the journey itself. It is a recognition that life is not a linear progression, but a continuous dance, a dynamic interplay of forces constantly reshaping our path. And as we stand on the precipice of the final reflection, we stand not with answers, but with a heightened awareness, a sharpened understanding of the tools required to navigate the complexities of life's inevitable challenges. We stand prepared, not for a simple answer, but for the continuous evolution of our own understanding. The digital labyrinth, once a source of bewilderment, now reveals a clearer path. The accusing finger, initially a symbol of fear, now signifies a call to action. The journey through the complexities of our inner landscape, the exploration of competing priorities, the wrestling with conflicting desires, these are not obstacles to be conquered, but opportunities for profound self-discovery. This intricate dance of internal conflict, external pressure, and the ever-shifting landscape of our lives is not a struggle to be avoided, but a tapestry to be woven. The threads of our experience, once seemingly disparate, now converge into a richer, more nuanced understanding of ourselves and the world around us. We are not mere navigators, charting a course through a predetermined landscape. We are architects of our own existence, shaping the very contours of our lives through conscious choices and mindful action. The mole within the digital empire, once a symbol of hidden darkness, now represents a catalyst for change. It compels us to look beyond the surface, to delve deeper into the complexities of our own being. This journey of self-discovery isn't about finding a single definitive answer. It's about embracing the inherent ambiguity and dynamism of existence. It's about recognizing the intricate dance between structure and spontaneity, between calculated planning and intuitive leaps. It's about understanding that the path forward is not a straight line, but a winding river, carving its own unique course through the landscape of our lives. The mole, once a source of fear, now becomes a beacon, guiding us toward a more profound understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. The true practice begins now. The work of self-understanding, of mindful action, of embracing the complexities of our internal landscapes is not a singular event, but an ongoing process, a continuous conversation with ourselves. It's a commitment to ongoing reflection, a dedication to understanding the subtle interplay of forces that shape our experiences. The journey through the digital labyrinth, the internal conflicts, and the competing priorities, these are not obstacles to be overcome, but opportunities to be embraced. Opportunities to craft a life that resonates with our deepest values and aspirations. This understanding, this awareness, isn't merely an intellectual exercise, it's a transformative force. It empowers us to navigate the complexities of life with greater resilience, grace, and purpose. It allows us to embrace the inherent ambiguity of existence, recognizing that the path forward is not a predetermined destination, but a continuous, evolving journey, a testament to the remarkable capacity of the human spirit. The true practice begins now, a continuous journey of self-discovery, a testament to the remarkable capacity of the human spirit.